What's going on, you guys? James here, and today is a very special video. I get the chance to bring on one of my good friends, a brother to me. His name is Chris Santiago. He is also a YouTuber, but one of the biggest DC fans that I know of, and he's been a staunch supporter of this Snyder Cut movement for a very long time. And now that it's here, I get to sit down, ask him some questions, and we have a spoiler-filled conversation about Zack Snyder's Justice League. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, go watch it, watch my spoiler-free review, and then get right into this discussion, guys, because there's a ton of stuff we get into, especially the future of the Snyderverse. Now, guys, before we get started, if it's your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where we do stuff like this all the time, and I want to do much more of it, so I'm going to need your help, guys. Go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and tap on the bell so you'll be the first one in the comments. And speaking of the comments, guys, let me know what questions you have for us both. We'll be in the comments. We can't wait to answer them, and hopefully when I get better technology, we'll do this live, because it would be great to have this conversation in real time with you. Alrighty, guys, well, you know what? It's time. Let's get into the discussion. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review and discussion, guys. We don't do this often, but when we do, it's special. I'm so excited to be joined by one of my good friends, a brother of mine. His name is Chris, but I'm not going to introduce him for you. I'm going to let him do the honors himself. Chris, go ahead and tell the good people who you are, where they can find you, and what you do here on YouTube.
Well, I'm going to do my classic intro. The obnoxious clap. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Chris here. And no, today is not a new belt review day, but instead today I'm going to be talking about something that is also very near and dear to my heart, along with my good brother James right here at Real James. And today we're going to be talking about the Snyder Cut.
Oh,
but before I do that, guys, before we get into nerd talk right now, if you can see right now, I do have my big logo 3 behind me. I do have some cinematic videos of that, but you can also check out all my other belt reviews on my channel. Just look for Chris Santiago. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. We're on the road to 500 subscribers before the end of this month, guys. And right now we're sitting pretty at 476. So it's only 24 more to go. It's a very slim number, but hey, we can accomplish this together, guys. You can also find me on Instagram at ChrisSant1104, ChrisSant1104. And while I'm at it, let me plug my boy Jimmy right now really quick, guys. Go ahead and give him a follow. Click that like button, get loud in the comments, go and subscribe to him, and find him on Instagram and Twitter at It's Real James. Guys, we're gonna have some fun today, so let's go and get into it, brother. Thank you for giving me the platform right now.
No, of course, and thank you for joining me today. Honestly, like he said, guys, go follow him. He's so close to 500. He does great work. His video production is amazing. I mean, it's literally what he does for a living. So this is gonna be so much fun today, brother. I can't wait, guys. I gotta kind of go back. We gotta go back, Chris. A year ago, almost to the day, where we were talking about
Literally
Batman.
almost to the day.
Right, Batman versus Superman Ultimate Edition. I had never seen it before. You gave me the chance to watch it, and I thought to myself, what better way to then talk about, Batman versus Superman again by then having you on the channel. So you were on the channel, almost a year ago, like I said, and we were talking about the possibility of a Snyder Cut, maybe. We'll have the chance to see Zack Snyder's true vision for the Justice League. And here we are a year later, dude, and we've both seen the definitive version of Justice League. My goodness gracious. Now, I want to give you the chance to talk about it, so I want to ask you a question. Because, Chris, when the credits ran, when you see For Autumn on screen, and then you sit back and collectively think, oof, I just watched the Snyder Cut, what was the first thought that ran through your mind?
Well, the first thing, honestly, that ran through my mind when I saw the For Autumn was, my eyes welled up. My eyes already welled up about maybe 4 or 5 separate times throughout the entire viewing, but that part really hit me the most because, I mean, that's the reason why Zack had to step down from the film production because, unfortunately, his daughter unfortunately committed suicide, and just that is probably one of the most, if not honestly the most terrible thing any adult with a child can experience throughout their life. And one thing I do love about this fandom is how much support it's been showing to the AFSP, the Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and just how much they've given to that organization and how much Zack himself has given to the organization. And it was a beautiful moment overall because you really realize that the overall theme of that film essentially is about the ideals of which also Cyborg says in the climax of the film, I'm not broken and I'm not alone. And that is such a powerful message, and within itself, for a lot of people who are going through depression and like suicidal thoughts, because it's such a confinement in your own mental space where you really feel like you're alone, and that no one understands you and no one will ever understand you, and that you are just flawed. And that's never the reality at all. Like, every person on this planet has so much to offer, and be a force for good. And it's such a beautiful message that was put in, into this film. And I love how even in this final film, you saw little sprinkles of the of like shout outs to AFSP throughout. I don't know if you noticed, but in the scene when Bruce goes and picks up Barry from Central City, and they're driving out from the alley and they're getting onto the highway, you see a billboard right as they're driving out for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Oh, wow.
Yeah. It right there, nice bright and blue. If you want to go back and watch a second viewing of it, you can definitely catch it there. That's where I noticed it the most, and I was like, oh wow, like there it is. Like, that's amazing. So they really went and put that in there. But overall, it just really hit me in the heart, and it made me so happy for the Snyder family and for all the fans alike that this dream was actually realized. And this was all in honor of Autumn Snyder. So this was just an amazing thing. So I'd love to hear your take now, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's beautiful. Everything you said is everything I co-sign, because the first thing I thought of once those credits ran is that there's a bigger purpose at play than just wanting this cut of the film to be released, because the movement eventually became more so about supporting this foundation, about supporting those who are not doing well mentally. And it was something so beautiful because it sprouted out of just simply wanting to see a movie, to see a director's cut in a way, and then it became so much more. So I think that this is just the foundation of the film, which is purpose. That's seriously the first thing that came through my mind as well was, hey man, this is purposeful. Like, there was always something purposeful about the Snyder Cut, and we see it both realized in reality and also in fiction, because we were understanding now more about the Justice League itself, but now we understand more about this foundation and what they're doing. So there are two things that were at play, and they were both very beautiful. So again, I just co-sign everything you said, man. It was beautiful. There was purpose, and the credits running didn't make me sad. I mean, they did make me sad because we'll talk about it later. We might not see these heroes again, but it also made me sad because it's the reality that a lot of women, men, children, they go through. Like they have the trauma that they live with every day, and they might feel alone, but they're never alone. Like you said, that Cyborg line was meaningful. It had purpose. I think Snyder and Chris Terrio wrote that on purpose for a reason. So I love it. I thought it was great. I thought everything just, it was a great capsule moment for the entire movement, for the entire cut. So now I want to move on to, Chris, the second topic, which we might spend a lot of time on, honestly. Did it live up to our expectations, though? Because we had high expectations. You and I both went into this, you probably more so than me, thinking, oh my gosh, I have a lot of things I want to see happen, but did everything you want to see happen? And did it live up to your expectations?
I think even went beyond my expectations, because the reality of it is, remember, they reshot basically 70% of the theatrical cut that we got in 2017, right? So when you really think about it, what we saw wasn't even in the original scripts or the storyboards or anything. So what expectations could you really have for a movie that you truly had no idea what was going to happen? You had some ideals because it did follow some of the same track that we got in the theatrical cut all those years ago. But in the end, it was a totally different film. It was really just, I don't want to say cathartic, but it was very, just all around a pleasure to see exactly how the true story was going to unfold. And, everyone had their own redemption arc in some form of fashion. And I think the only people that we can exclude from this redemption arc would be Wonder Woman and Aquaman. And that's because Wonder Woman, we already saw her struggles. We know her struggles. Aquaman, we kind of already knew what was happening because we saw the movie Aquaman. But I guess if you're looking at it in terms of the Snyderverse, where this was his version of Arthur Curry, it was more about just him opening up and be like, hey, yeah, outsiders, cool. I can be friends with people. I don't have to shut everybody out.
Yeah.
But with Barry, feeling all that guilt about his dad and kind of being a prisoner to his own goals with his dad, and then realizing them at the end of the film, especially when he gets his job at CCPD, that's one example. Superman returning, my boy, Superman returning, and like he says in the film, I have a second chance here, and I'm not going to waste it. That line itself just smacks perfectly, especially considering after all that we saw him go through in Man of Steel and in Batman vs. Superman, were both, I guess you could say, politically driven films about how the real world would react if there was a Superman, despite doing all the good he's done, still being shunned by the people of the 21st century. Coming back, still sacrificing, before that, still sacrificing himself for humanity, and then coming back and realizing his true purpose on this planet, which is to be its protector. Then obviously with Cyborg, with, as we know, Ray Fisher. I mean, I applause for him, man. Applause for him. Good. I'm sorry if my mic peaks, but man, just Ray Fisher, if you ever just pass by this on YouTube, man, you're watching this, who freaking dose to you, man. Oh my Lord. You absolutely killed this role. You were undoubtedly my favorite character. And I'm a Superman guy.
Yeah.
You were my favorite character in this movie. And you just shined like a diamond in this film. Snyder wasn't wrong when he said you were the heart of this film, and just bravo to you, man, for bringing Victor Stone and Cyborg so passionately to the screen. So obviously we all know his redemption arc of forgiving his father, and just, again, with the whole I'm not broken, I'm not alone. But then best for last, I mean, you can attest, dude, to the 180 difference of Bruce Wayne and Batman in this film. For goodness sake, he tells Alfred, when Alfred's questioning about his ideals about this team, and he goes, "Faith, Alfred, faith."
Yeah.
That line would have never been present in Batman versus Superman.
Right.
And that goes to show what Zack actually had in plan for Bruce Wayne Batman. Just,
I agree.
180, man. 180.
I agree with you. And it's funny because I didn't really expect that, because I figured we're going to get a brooding Bruce Wayne, and I was hoping we would get some sort of shift inside of him internally, because I'm very much an optimist at heart anyway, and I wanted to see him change for the better. And we did see that. He was willing to take a leap of faith and try to corral together the Justice League, and he knew that if he were going to go and try and, of course, wake up Superman, he would then, of course, alert Steppenwolf and everyone else to where they were at, and it would just cause a lot of chaos, and it could be their downfall. But he was willing to risk it all in order to save everyone. And I think that it was such a beautiful testament to the writing as well. Chris Terrio penned a pretty good script here, I would say. And I love the fact that Zack Snyder was able to work with somebody who was already so familiar, I guess, with this area of filmmaking, and he didn't feel like he was ever held back. So it's nice that Zack Snyder was able to work with people who were willing to work with him, and it just turned out to be so great. Now, for me, Chris, when it comes to expectations, they were low. I kept them low on purpose because I did not want to be disappointed at all. And I knew that going into it, this was going to have a lot of weight to it. The movie itself, man, if I had my expectations all the way here, I don't know if it would have exceeded it. But because I kept them low, not only did it exceed my expectations, but it gave me a movie I didn't know I wanted, if that makes sense. I didn't know I was getting an opera type superhero film. I thought we were just going to get literally 4 hours of, action, of a ton of, very solemn moments, but I didn't know we were going to get something that felt very grand like this. So it exceeded my expectations.
And I'm sorry to cut you off, but since you brought that up really quick, I want to ask you, for you anyway, did it feel like 4 hours went by? Because for me, it felt like 2 hours went by like that.
Yeah, no. See, it's funny. It didn't feel like 4 hours, but what I will tell you is that there were moments that I felt like you could tell the scenes were dragging on, but then I had to remember, oh my gosh, it's a 4-hour film, so they're able to sort of drag these scenes out. And I got that right at the beginning too with Aquaman, where when Arthur Curry goes into the ocean, and then all of a sudden you hear the singing, which was a cool moment, don't get me wrong, but it lasted longer in this cut than I think it ever would have in a theatrical cut of this film, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. I think, if that scene were to have made the theatrical cut back in 2017, that probably would have lasted 15 seconds maximum 15 seconds. Just a quick little them chanting the hymn and Bruce Wayne taking notice of that. 15 seconds max, but that was like a good 30, 45, maybe even a minute. I mean, I didn't count obviously, but just going off of what you said, man, I can attest to that yeah, it felt like it dragged, but then it's because they have creative freedom.
Mm-hmm.
They got what they wanted. So, hey, here you go. We could have done it for 5 minutes if we wanted to, honestly.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't think the movie works as well if those scenes don't play out, if that makes sense. If they are cut short, it ends up starting to feel just like a theatrical cut all over again. This was meant to feel very different from an in-theater experience, something that you are expecting to get out of a 2.5 hour movie. I don't really understand a lot of the criticism that I've been hearing where people get to that 3 hour mark or the 3.5 hour mark and they feel like they just can't finish it, like it's gone on for too long. And I'm like, guys, this is a film that was always in it for a marathon, not for a sprint. It was never trying to get to the finish line right away. This is something that was playing out beautifully. I mean, I know we'll talk about it later. There are a couple of parts that didn't really resonate with me, but that wasn't because of the length. I think that's just because of the quality, like what we ended up getting with those parts. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts too on the negatives, but I don't want to get too negative too fast. I want to get into our favorite moments in the film and what we loved, especially technically, about this movie. So Chris, I want to give you the mic here because I know you got some good things to say about this Snyder Cut.
Well, I mean, not to, just to comment really quick on what you were saying, like not to get too negative or something like that. No film is truly ever fully perfect in the grand, idea of pros versus cons, and that's completely okay. There were maybe a couple scenes where I maybe had a couple gripes, none that really stuck with me too much, but I remember not feeling too happy about a couple certain scenes, and that's totally okay. So before we even get to the cons, obviously 99.9.5% of this movie was perfect to me. But I think I can safely say that, yes, I'm going to be biased. My favorite scene obviously was Superman's return, just because there's our boy. There's Superman fully realized and well known to his own powers and how strong he is. And it kind of took me back to, I don't know if you watched the Justice League animated series back when we were kids, dude.
I saw it sporadically, so it's not something I dedicated my time to, but I did, yeah.
There's one part where Superman is actually fighting Darkseid on in Metropolis, and he's mentioning how all his life he's had to hold back, treat everything that he touches like it's cardboard, because it is to him.
Right.
But then he says, but you can take it, can't you, big guy? You can take it. So he goes, what we have here is an opportunity for me to let loose. And I feel like Superman in that moment when he returns to just beat down Steppenwolf was that moment, because he just, man, he threw like a rag doll around. He uses heat vision, his laser eyes, whatever you want to call it, to go and cut off part of Steppenwolf's head. I wasn't ready for that part. I was not ready for that. Did that, just beat him down, more lasers, beat him down, lasers, throw him around, jumping in the air, punching him down. Oh man, I just kept thinking of that quote. This is a moment where I can, what we have here is an opportunity for me to let loose, and he did. Another thing too is kind of random, but also any scene with any of the cast with Alfred.
Oh, I know.
Oh man, Jeremy Irons shined in this movie.
He did.
You gotta give him a shout out as well. He shined.
That one scene with the tea, them making tea, when they're making tea together with Diana. I think it's beautiful because those are the little moments that do get cut out of a theatrical film, if that makes sense. But in a director's cut, these are moments that are allowed to live. And I mean, we need that because we need those little bits of personality because it adds color to this film. So I agree with you. 100%.
Yeah. That scene, I was just like, he literally cannot help himself because Diana is obviously so independent and she won't let him do it for her, but he can't let her do it for herself. So that scene was just comedic gold. And then also when I want to say right in the third act, in the beginning of the third act, when Bruce brings the team down into the Batcave, and Alfred's there, and of course Barry's like, "Wow, this is great," kind of thing. He's doing what all of us would do if we were in the Batcave. Let's be honest with ourselves. To anyone who says Zack Snyder can't produce comedy in a otherwise serious film, there's your proof.
No, it's
true.
True.
Right there. I don't want to hear anyone ever again say that Zack Snyder can't do comedy.
That's the thing. I think a lot of these moments don't necessarily come together well without all the other pieces also coming together, like Junkie XL's score, Zack Snyder being able to breathe, the screenplay having time to just marinate. And I think a lot of the actors appreciated the care that went into this, so you could tell their attitudes on set were a lot different than they were in the 2017 version. So
we don't talk about that now. That now has become taboo.
It's right. It might be
now,
and it's canon, unfortunately. So that movie is canon, but I don't consider it canon, Chris. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know about that for now, man, because I think with the success and all the actual positive reviews that this film is getting, I mean, dude, I think this might be Zack Snyder's highest rated comic book film, with all the positive reviews it's getting from fans and critics and the amount of hype that it's bringing to HBO Max.
What are you thinking?
Said it, man, in a recent interview. Everyone's been asking him, "Are you going to come back and do Justice League 2 and 3 if they call you?" And he's already said it. Never say never.
Yeah, I know.
If this could happen.
I know. I want to hold out hope so badly, but we had this conversation yesterday, and I just don't know if I see it, because I think of the bridges that were burned by Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder and everything we read about, and it was almost like irreversible damage. But like you said, dude, there's a lot of positive reception behind this. There's momentum now like there was never before. So if we're gonna restore the Snyderverse, I mean, now is probably the best time. I kind of want to dive into at least like a few of my favorite moments, because I had a lot of favorite moments, Chris, but there were some that made me just pop and like get up out of my seat. Can I tell you a funny story before? I actually made a lot of popcorn for this, and let's just say I made too much popcorn. I thought 1 cup of kernels wasn't going to be a lot of popcorn, but it's a ton of popcorn. So I pause it after I finish part 1, and I go downstairs and make my popcorn. I'm like, you know what, I need it for this. And then there was a moment that happened later on in this film where a certain shape-shifting alien shows up, and I nearly threw the popcorn off of my bed.
I can see it right now. I can see the GIF right now of the person in the movie theater, and they're shaking at the film, and all you see is the popcorn just flying all around like this. That is exactly how I picture you in that moment, especially in the post-credit scene too.
That's right, and it's a perfect segue into one of my favorite moments of the entire film, dude. It's just when Martha leaves the meeting, or I guess that's an apartment building, the meeting with Lois, and then
it's an apartment, yeah.
It's an apartment, right?
That's where Lois lives.
So she leaves, and Martha gets red eyes, and I'm like, no, because I hadn't been spoiled before this. I heard there were some leaks and stuff. I did not get.
Dude. Oh no, I was ready for that scene because
you were
Snyder. Well, because I have Vero, and obviously I follow Zack Snyder on Vero.
Right.
I was there when he originally posted the storyboard idea that he had of Martha visiting Lois, and then when she closed the door and turns around and turns into Martian Manhunter. So when that scene happened, I was like, oh, here it is. I was more excited to see
I didn't know that. That's why, like, I was super surprised. I saw her red eyes, and I'm like, if this is a dream sequence, I'll fight. I will fight someone right now. And
no.
And she turns out to be.
It is no dream, my friend.
Right.
It is no dream.
And she turned out to be John Jones, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Martian Manhunter. And I like literally flipped around my bed, and I was like, fist pumping, and I'm so glad my family wasn't here to see that, because they might have thought I was some sort of crazy man. But I couldn't believe that we got Martian Manhunter.
Jacket, Jimmy. I'm sorry, we're Baker acting you. We're putting you in
exactly.
I'm sorry, man. Just after seeing you pop for an alien like that, we gotta take you.
But it was so beautiful, because I think the way they introduce Martian Manhunter is such a subtle yet not subtle way, because we understand clearly it's, General Smallwick, and I thought it was beautiful how they were able to give that for the fans, and then those who might not know who Martian Manhunter is are clearly going back and searching for Martian Manhunter. And I'm hoping this gives a breath of fresh air to this character that it so desperately needs, because it is so underrated and underused in the DC universe. It hasn't been
shown really much love since the animated series back in the 90s.
Yeah, dude, I haven't seen much of Martian Manhunter, so that was one of my favorite moments, dude. I just had to pop for that one real hard. And then there's something that made me again wish we saw this in theaters: the tunnel fight with Steppenwolf and all the parademons. Oh my gosh, when the Nightcrawler comes out, I was flipping out, dude, because I wanted to see that on the big screen. It's one of many moments that made me think, "Ugh, gosh, I wish I could see this in IMAX, because I know we have one locally here due to us, and I wish we could see this in IMAX. And we might, I know I sent you that link yesterday. It might be re-released in IMAX, which would be great. But I just love that scene so much because it felt like the epitome of where the film wanted to get to. It wanted to get to a successful big action sequence, and that wasn't even the biggest action scene, dude. The biggest action scene was arguably at the end, where, like you said earlier, Superman just, well, kills Steppenwolf in a way. So,
well, he doesn't really like he kills Steppenwolf. He just cuts parts of his head off. Wonder Woman kills Steppenwolf.
Okay, good point. Very good point. Led to his death. But I love that scene so much because seeing Bruce Wayne play with all that tech, Batman just having so much at his arsenal, he is not a super powered human being. Rather, he's just rich. And I love that scene as well with, Ezra Miller and him, where he's just like, what's your superpower? I'm rich, boy. I loved it. And the second thing I want to say is it's a very small moment. It's not action oriented, bro. But what I love so much about it is that it grounds the film, and it's the epitome of what the movie is about, which is about love, understanding, overcoming, redemption, and perseverance. And it's when Clark Kent hugs Lois Lane and Martha in the cornfields, and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
That was one of the 4 to 5 parts that I actually just like broke. Like that.
Oh, you did?
Especially considering everything we've seen them go through in Man of Steel BVS and now Justice League. Just, oh my God.
Yeah, but it's such a small moment in the grand scheme of this amazing film. It's so epic in scale. And I see this moment, and it impacted me like harder than some of the big action sequences because it's just exactly where the film wanted to get to. This is Zack Snyder's vision coming into fruition. And I love the fact that we got them together and the scene just lasted. It just felt like forever. And I wanted to be in that moment. I wanted that snapshot for the rest of my life because it was just such a beautiful scene between 3 characters, honestly, that had to overcome so much. They were either enemies in the face of the public eye, or they were literally enemies to extraterrestrial forces. So I loved that scene a lot, and I just can't wait to see more of that if we do, of course, get more of this Snyderverse. I know I'm crossing my fingers too, bro. I'm saying some prayers. I really want it to happen. I'm thinking miniseries, Chris. What do you think? We get some Harry Lennox, Martian Manhunter miniseries on HBO Max.
HBO Max. Come on.
Come on,
do this
bro.
thing. Let's do this thing. Come on.
And there's something I want to get into because I know that might be an Easter egg for so many fans. They might not know of Martian Manhunter, but the first thing I thought of was that there are a lot of little things in this movie, dude, that are playing to a bigger audience, like an audience that isn't just heavily dependent on DCEU for their DC content, but there are some Easter eggs here that really made me smile, and some that you and I were talking about, of course, with Dr. Choi and whatnot. So I want
Ryan Choi.
Dude, I'm so happy that they included that line. I'm just so happy that they have him in this movie. What are some Easter eggs that you picked out that maybe some people might have just glanced over in the film? Because I know I have a few that I've listed, like Dr. Choi, but are there any others that you looked at and thought, oh, hey, I know that?
So it was a very dark kind of way to show it, but when Cyborg gets a glimpse into the evil Superman world, after Darkseid puts his hand on Superman's shoulder, it cuts to the Hall of Justice being like in rubble and everything, and
yes.
just destruction.
Yeah.
If you saw it, we see a certain Green Lantern on the floor there. That certain Green Lantern is Kilowog, the master of the word Pooza.
Yo, dude, I totally missed that. What the heck?
No, he was right there on the floor. He was right on the floor with a gaping hole in his chest. Oh man, yeah, that was Kilowog. Or at least I'm convinced it was Kilowog anyway.
Yeah.
That this, obviously Superman killed him, but that was nice because we saw the one Green Lantern back from all those thousands of years ago, in the Darkseid, finally the true Darkseid, not Steppenwolf flashback. Also, while I'm on it, Darkseid, oh my God. Wow. Ray Porter, you madman. You are awesome. You are awesome. I know that I've tweeted at him a couple of times on Twitter and everything, and he's responding to me. He is so engaging with his fans, and I know he's loving all this recognition he's getting for being Darkseid, because he couldn't for all these years, but now he finally can, and just You absolutely deserve every single bit of it, Mr. Porter. Oh,
Dude,
you're
the
great.
CG work
So
also, I think the CGI work for Darkseid here, oh my, I didn't expect it to be as great as it was. And I think, even though we've been raving about the Snyder Cut up to this point, almost an hour into this, brother, I think we do need to address some things, and we have to be fair. We're not that biased. I mean, we have to make sure we're fair and partial, of course, to some of
who's
the
we?
issues.
I don't speak French.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Just me then. No, we got to make sure we talk about some of the issues because there were some things I want to bring up that didn't really vibe with me too well, and I did bring them up in my spoiler-free review, but I couldn't really get into depth with some of these complaints. So, Chris, I gotta ask you, man, were there any things in this that didn't work well for you?
Man, one thing I will admit that kind of did get a little old for me towards the end, and not knocking on Junkie XL because I just gave him so much praise earlier. But they used his they used his Amazonian track a bit too much for almost everything that Diana did. And I was like, bro, like she's just jumping over Steppenwolf with her sword, clashing with it. You could have used Hans Zimmer's theme in that moment and it probably would have been a lot more impactful.
Yeah.
Than just the as she's going all over. And it's not a bad track. It's not. It's just I feel like they relied on it a bit too much.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they might have thought, oh, we used Wonder Woman's theme a bit too much. I do wish Superman had a bit more lines. I do wish he kind of spoke a little more.
Yeah.
But I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because the man just came back to life. I'm pretty sure if I just came back to life, I wouldn't be speaking much either. So I'm trying to be considerate to that notion. But at the same time, it's Henry Cavill. I love him. I love Superman.
Yeah.
So I just wish they gave him more lines.
And it might be the last time we see Henry Cavill as Superman, and he was in this movie for no more than 20 minutes.
Stop.
I'm just saying.
Stop it.
I'm sorry.
Stop it. This is. I know we're in the negative parts right now, but I'm trying to stay hopeful.
I know. But listen, that was one of my big things, and I genuinely couldn't say too much in my review, but I don't like that they only had him in the movie for no more than 20 minutes of screen time. And I thought, man, I expected more of Supes in a 4-hour film. I get that they wanted to build up to his resurrection, build up to him getting finally assimilated back into this world, and then, of course, helping the Justice League defeat Steppenwolf and saving the world once again. But it frustrated me because we could have had more sincere moments like we got with Martha and Lois if they would have just included more of him in this film. And I understand the artistic direction behind it, but the decision for me was super disappointing. Did you notice that he was in the movie for like that little bit of time or no?
I didn't because I was just happy he was back, and I'm glad that he got, no pun intended, the justice that he deserved, because that theatrical cut just made me livid.
Oh yeah, you remember that one
was a
scene?
slap to every Man of Steel fan.
The scene in the beginning when they're like asking him questions or whatever on their phone. I was like, don't do this. No, why?
Cringe. And the sad part is that's the opening to the movie. That's the opening to that edition. I'm not talking about that. We're talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League. Woosa. But yeah, to go along, I do agree. I feel like a lot of those moments would have been, I really wish they would have had like a, kind of like to mirror that scene of Martha with Lois, or Martian Manhunter with Lois in her apartment, trying to talk about coming back to the, to the real world, kind of thing, kind of like come back to the living, as she said. It would have been nice if they kind of mirrored that moment with all three of them in the Kent's farmhouse and just kind of like talking, like, Clark, how you feeling or something like that, or what's, or like he's trying to figure out what's been going on since I've been gone. And, have that kind of moment where, it's now with him. Because before it was without him, and it was such a heavy emphasis that it was without him. But now let's have him back. They could have that roundtable moment, which is the three of them, with the Man of Steel family. Right. And they kind of catch him up, and he's explaining like what he's going through and what he's thinking and how it felt to him, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, maybe also give Lois that encouraging pep talk of saying, hey, I appreciate and love you for, holding on to me and everything. But you're Lois Lane, like you're the reporter, you're, like you're the Pulitzer Prize winning or the Pulitzer nominated, journalist, as much as I had a duty out there, so do you, kind of thing. That would have been nice to add a little bit to it. But I think because the movie wasn't about him, they didn't want to throw that in there. This movie is about, Batman bringing everyone together. Boom,
that's totally fair. That's totally fair. I think, seeing it through that lens, it makes the sting of not getting so much Superman that much easier to, of course, just go through and endure, because I wanted more Superman. But when you put it that way, I think, okay, maybe it makes a lot of sense that we didn't get half the movie with him. We just got that final chunk with Henry Cavill's Superman. I even think that the moments still were great with Superman. I'm not saying that I'm disappointed in his moments. I loved when we saw him at the end take off his iconic glasses and then go, hey, what up? Black suit's still here. I love it.
That's
it was
exactly
so...
what he said before he took off. That's exactly what he said. Hey, what up?
There was another thing about this film that I did not like at all. It was the worst thing about the movie.
Go ahead, hit me with this one. We may agree, we may disagree. I don't know, but what's your least favorite part about this?
Boy, I don't have a trash can with me, so I can't put this scene right in the trash where it belongs. I'm sorry, Chris. That epilogue was awful, bro. It was not good at all.
Oh, you're talking about the nightmare sequence?
Yes, I wanted it to be so good. I think on its own, it's not bad. But what made it really hard for me to stomach is that in the flow of the film, in terms of the context of the movie, I understand an epilogue never has to always feel like the rest of the film, but it came so quickly after that final epic shot with our league, with everyone in the Justice League, and then all of a sudden we get into this nightmare scene, and at first I thought, oh, this is cool, I'm ready for it. But it just goes off in this weird direction where I think that it relies a little too much on Leto's Joker. Like, we were all waiting for that, and then when I got there, I can't lie to you guys, Leto's Joker is not very good. I don't think he's good at all. I think he's the worst on-screen Joker we've ever gotten. What do you think about that, man?
Oh, man. That is a hot take. Wow. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's a hot take because a lot of people would agree with that. But at the same time, man, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of people say otherwise, that Zack actually gets Joker better than David Ayer did, in a way. You know, not saying that David Ayer wasn't in his own right to be as creative as he wanted to with the Joker character, but I do agree that I feel like Zack has a better idea of the Joker and it was fleshed more. And I do see the gripe with it because it felt really kind of just like out of whack. But at the same time, we have to remember too that Leto didn't shoot that scene with Ben. He didn't. Like, they weren't together. So it's hard to say that, you know, oh, Affleck and Leto have absolutely no chemistry together. They weren't on set together. That's like me talking to this camera right now, doing a scene with you, and then you doing a scene with a camera, pseudo talking to me.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that, and I can understand that. And then I do agree with also, if you couldn't do it right, you shouldn't do it at all. I get that, but Zack is trying to fulfill his vision. Screw it, here it is for you guys. Take it as you will, kind of thing. So I half agree with you because also I was expecting that sequence to happen earlier in the movie.
Yes.
I thought that was gonna be a part of like the actual film, not in the epilogue. And then it was only after when I saw, epilogue, I was like, wait, are we getting the nightmare sequence now? Because honestly, I almost forgot about it. When it came to the epilogue, I was like, okay, here it is. To me, I still liked it because I'm in it for Batman. That's just the fact. I'm in it for Batman.
Yeah.
Because Ben Affleck just kills it absolutely in every single moment he's Batman.
The only good thing, honestly, about the epilogue for me was just the Martian Manhunter conversation, because there was one line that hit me right in the heart, Chris, and I was like, okay, thank God the epilogue, like the entire epilogue is not terrible, it's just a nightmare scene that didn't vibe with me. It was that line that Martian Manhunter says, where he said, your mom and dad, or your dad, he said your mom and dad would be proud. Is that the one, Chris?
Yeah. Yeah, he goes, he talks about how your parents would be very proud of you.
Oh, Chris, dude, what in the world? Like, you can't get that emotional, all right? Like, you can, but oh my gosh, you can't. It hurt. Like, it was a good hurt. It was a bittersweet feeling. And then when we finally get the final credits and everything, I think to myself, like, alrighty, if this is the final glimpse at Zack Snyder's Justice League that we'll ever get, then hey, I mean, it went off on the highest note. Before we get into literally the final, like our final thoughts, do you think, again, that if we were to see a continuation of the Snyderverse, it would need to be in a 4-hour, 3-hour setting? Or do you think that Zack Snyder could pull it off in that traditional theatrical format? Because now we're spoiled with the Snyder Cut, but if we get the Snyderverse, will we get something of similar quality in a more theatrical setting?
Well, we were originally spoiled with the Ultimate Edition of Batman vs Superman. That was a flex for Zack Snyder himself, saying that, hey, what you got in the theaters wasn't even my film, also. Yeah. Like, this is my film. And I remember him saying in an interview recently that his intention with these Justice League films was to make them that long, like 3.5, 4 hours long, because he was inspired by the Lord of the Rings trilogy and how long they were. Remember how long those were?
Oh boy,
those were like
I do.
3.5 hours long. So who's to say that his wouldn't work for it? And they were a big success.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think also that like kind of what happened with us, where we watched a 4-hour film, but it didn't feel like a 4-hour film because we were so invested in it. You don't even, when you're invested in something, time means nothing. Time means absolutely nothing. So when it comes down to it, I'd sit down and watch another 4 hours, for Justice League 2 and 3. I know a lot of people wouldn't, but and that's totally fine. That's totally fine. But with all this hype that it's getting, this is me saying it. I'm speaking into the universe. Warner Brothers and AT&T would be not the brightest to not capitalize on this hype.
Oh yeah.
Because like you said, it's getting so critically and fan, it's getting, I don't want to say fully acclaimed because obviously it's at 78% and that kind of stuff on Rotten Tomatoes, but that's just from a collection of different reviews. And that shows that there's a lot more positive than there are negative.
Yeah.
So that's a big sign. That's a big thing moving forward for Justice League.
Yeah.
And for Zack Snyder.
It's going to be interesting, Chris, to see how many more subscribers they got. They benchmarked, they benchmarked their numbers pre-Snyder Cut and now post-Snyder Cut. Because if they have, millions of more subscribers because of this thing, Chris, I think they're already at the talking table. They're already sitting down and thinking, alrighty guys, well, you know what? This is what we did. It's successful. How can we continue this trend? Because remember, HBO Max is fighting to try and overtake Disney Plus. So they're not concerned about Netflix. They're concerned about Disney Plus, I think. This is just from a pure business perspective. I think that they would be foolish to not capitalize on this hype. And not only that, if they were to, let's say Monday morning, let's give it until the end of the week. If they said, guys, we've spoken with Zack Snyder and we've come to an agreement, a 5-movie deal or a 4-movie deal or whatever, I think that what we're getting from that is not only AT&T and Warner Brothers saying we love the fans and we are receptive to what they want, but it's also continuing this trend of restoring a sort of universe that was originally promised to Zack Snyder. He was given the full reins and it was stripped away only to be given back again with the Snyder Cut. So it would be a very bad business move if they didn't even try to go back to the negotiating table. So I'm excited, dude. And before we head on out of here, I want to ask you, okay, definitively, if you had to even give it a grade out of 5 stars, how many stars would you have to give the Snyder Cut?
Well, grade, it's S tier. I'm sorry, it's S tier. And that's not even me being biased. This is a phenomena in the comic book movie world and genre. Nobody else has ever done something like this. Zack gets kudos just for that. There are so many formulas now that are followed. Zack says, I got my own. And that's shown in his movies. Whether you like it or don't like it, you have to appreciate that that he fully appreciates creative freedom.
Yeah.
Because that's when he's at his best. And we saw it. We've seen it in the past. The BVS theatrical cut, meddled. And look how that turned out. BVS Ultimate Edition. That was his true vision of it. We saw how much better it was. Justice League, or Justice League, as people are now calling it. The Joss Whedon version. We saw what happened with that. Now we have the Snyder Cut. Look how... You see what I'm getting at here?
I do.
When you give the artist his freedom, or her freedom, you get something much better. I understand business, logistics, economic worry, all these different... I understand everything that goes into it. But at the end of the day, it's art. And art should be appreciated for what it is. You don't see painters, doing something that they feel heartfelt about, and then you have someone behind them going, nah, I don't like that, take that part out. It's art. How are you going to tear it down? So
you would give it a 5 out of 5, right? If you were to put it on a star scale.
I give it a 6 out of 5 if I could. But
it's impossible.
But if I'm being fair, but if I'm being fair, I give it a 4.99.
Okay.
The only reason why that 0.1 wouldn't happen is because of all the things that we talked about in our negatives.
Yeah.
Which is, for me, a couple of the scenes, the music, and the I wish they did this kind of thing. Yeah. Doesn't take away from being an amazing film because, as you've heard me rant on about, dude, it has been nothing short of amazing to me, and it was everything I wanted and so much more. and I'm just happy it's here.
I know. And I think that's perfect. It's perfect that you said it like that. I mean, it's real. We have it. Thank God. Finally, for the longest time, you and I have been talking about this thing. And I was once I was opposed, I think, to the point of Zack Snyder's continuing to work with this universe because BVS I did not like at all. And then I saw the UE and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not bad. And then you and I started getting on this conversation of, well, if the Snyder Cut comes, it would have to be now. Like, it has to be now. It can't be years from now. Like, I think people would still be hyped about it, but it was boiling. It was coming to a simmer. Like, we started to see Zack Snyder post more and more about this, and I thought if we don't get this now, dude, I think the hype train might have already left the station. So thank God we have it. And I mean, honestly, Chris, I said it. Well, I have my star rating on Letterboxd, and I said it in my review, but I still think it's a 4 out of 5 for me. And it's a strong 4 out of 5. And the only reason it doesn't,
Fine, yeah,
right,
that's fine. You know,
right,
it rightfully so. Rightfully so. It's a 4 out of 5 because your gripes with it were, you know, were very much granted. So I can see why, you know, it would knock it off of being perfect, which is fine. Like I said, no film is ever going to be perfect to anybody.
right.
So it's, I think you give it a good fair ranking.
It's beautiful. It's poetic. And that's the thing, man. The Snyder Cut is poetic, and so is this story. Speaking of story, dude, that released the Snyder Cut book, bro. I'm not gonna lie to y'all.
Sean O'Connell, our boy. We shouted him out last year. It's only fair we shout him out this year too.
Isn't it crazy? We were talking about this book he was making, and he finally made it. It's like twofold. We have the Snyder Cut, and then we have the book, and it's all full circle.
Snyder Cut book.
I know. I love it, dude. But now I know we got to get out of here. I know you got some work to do, Chris, but I want you to tell the good people of YouTube where they could find you if they just skip to the end of this discussion.
Well, first things first, and I feel like this needs to be addressed first. I do want to give a shout out to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and because I wanted to do this earlier, but we got caught up in a conversation and we talked about it earlier. But I do want to give a shout out to them, and I do want to say to anyone who's watching this, if you are for the battle against suicide prevention and an advocate for mental health, much like we are, guys, you can go ahead and visit their website at afsp.org. Go ahead and click on all their sites, on all their sites and all their tabs, and just view all the stories. They're true and hard-hitting stories, and also donate to the foundation. They've been getting a lot of recognition from the Snyder family and from the release of Snyder Cut fans alike, and it's a beautiful, corporation, and I should say organization, that has a true and beautiful message to the world, and that is we are here for you, kind of thing. We're here for you, and you are more important than you actually realize. So I do want to give them a shout out, guys. Go ahead and just check out their website and donate to them, become a part of the movement, guys. And then so from that, also I do want to give a thanks to you, my good brother, for bringing me back on. A year later, we're doing this thing again, man, and it's just been so much fun. We've been on this for an hour and a half now. I know it's going to be a lot shorter on the actual final version, but I do want to say thank you, man. I love you so much, brother, and I'm glad that you're able to do what you do great, give great content, give honest reviews, and do it on a platform and give us you, because a lot of people will give a character, but you are the character. The character is you, and we all love you for it, man. So I do want to say, guys, if you're watching this video, click that subscribe button down below for James. Like it. Please like it, guys. Share this video around. Subscribe to Real James, and comment down below. Let us know what you thought about the Snyder Cut. If you thought it was a 4 out of 5, maybe a 1 out of 5 if you're one of those guys. Hey, look, if you're one of those guys, everyone has their own opinion, but just understand at the end of the day, it's okay to be wrong, and you're wrong. So that aside, all right, guys, now time to plug me in for just a quick second. Guys, we're on a goal of 500 subscribers by the end of this month, by the end of March. I have a little goal set for myself for that. I do belt reviews, I do vlogs, I do cinematic features, I do food vlogs, I do travel vlogs, I do date vlogs with my girlfriend too. It's great. So thank you guys for all your support thus far. Thank you guys for supporting James thus far. He's been one of my greatest friends since 2013 when we met in college. And I'm so thankful and grateful and blessed that we're still as close as we are now, as we have ever been. And brother, I love you, man. Thank you for bringing me onto your channel again. It's been an absolute blast. And I'm just happy to say, the Snyder Cut's real.
Yes. Oh, heck yeah. Dude, and I echo the same sentiments, bro. I love you. Thank you so much for coming on the channel and just talking about the Snyder Cut, because this is the most I've talked about the Snyder Cut since it dropped, which is great. So, man, this discussion was great. Thank you so much, brother. And again, guys, go and subscribe to his channel. He's got great stuff. Alrighty, y'all. Well, you know what? It's time to head on out of here, and I'll catch you at the next screening.